Have you ever noticed the silence? Not the absence of noise, but a different kind of quiet that has begun to grow inside you. A strange, peaceful stillness where a storm used to rage. For years, perhaps decades, your past was a constant companion, a ghost sitting in the passenger seat of your life, whispering stories you knew by heart. It was a collection of grainy photographs you were forced to look at every day, each one triggering a familiar ache, a specific flavor of regret or anger. You lived inside a story written long ago, and every new day felt like just another chapter in the same tragic book. The world, in its well-meaning but clumsy way, helped you do this. It gave you labels based on that story. You were the survivor, the one who was wronged, the one who made the terrible mistake. Your identity was a monument built from the rubble of your history, and you dutifully polished it every morning. But lately, something has shifted. The ghost in the passenger seat seems more transparent. The old photographs have started to fade. And when you feel that familiar ache, it's no longer a crippling stab, but a distant echo, like a song you barely remember the words to. You feel a sense of dislocation, a kind of vertigo. You look around at people who are still furiously fighting their old battles, still polishing their own monuments of pain, and you feel a quiet, unnerving distance. You might even feel a pang of guilt. Have you forgotten? Have you betrayed your own suffering by letting it go? Is this peace a form of denial? But what if I were to tell you that this growing silence is not a sign of forgetting, but of healing? What if this strange new quiet is the sound of chains, once impossibly heavy, dissolving into air? What if this feeling of being out of step with the world isn't a sign that you are lost, but a sign that you have finally, truly begun to find yourself, free from the script you were handed? You are not broken for feeling this peace. You are not disloyal to your own past. You are simply waking up from a very long and very convincing dream. The first, and perhaps most profound, of 9 signs that you have truly outgrown your past is this: the memories have begun to lose their emotional charge. They are becoming information, not ammunition. They are facts, not feelings. The story is finally just a story. You say the society we've built is a grand and elaborate game of ghosts. It thrives on the past. It needs you to be a predictable character, a continuation of who you were yesterday, last year, 10 years ago. Your identity in this game is your resume of experiences. It's a ledger of your wounds and your victories. Tell me your story, people say, and what they mean is, give me a character I can understand, a trajectory I can plot. We are all encouraged to be consistent actors in a play that never ends. The rules of this play demand that the past dictates the present. The one who was betrayed must remain wary. The one who failed must remain humble. The one who was hurt must carry their pain like a badge. Because to put it down would be to break character, to disrupt the narrative that everyone has agreed upon. Your exhaustion, the deep, soul-level weariness you have felt for so long, did not come from the events of your past themselves. It came from the monumental, unending effort of performing that past day after day. It was the labor of carrying a heavy costume, of reciting the same lines, of reacting to the world through a mask that was fused to your skin by old pain. When you tried to change, to improvise a new line, did you not feel the immense pressure from others to return to the script? "Oh, that's not like you," they would say with a nervous laugh. What they meant was, "Please don't change. Your consistency is part of the foundation of my own reality. If you can change, it means everything is uncertain." And so your pain was not just your own. It was a role you played for the comfort of the audience. The profound frustration you felt was the natural, sane response of a free consciousness being asked to live in a cage built from memory. And in this great social theater, there is always a script for justice, for revenge, for closure. The play demands a final act where the villains get their comeuppance, where you receive the apology you've been waiting for, where the universe finally balances the scales. You may have spent years, even decades, waiting for that scene. You rehearsed the lines in your head 1,000 times, imagining the perfect, cutting remark, the moment of validation where they would finally see the depth of the hurt they caused. But a second sign has emerged within you, quietly and without fanfare. You no longer seek revenge or validation from those who hurt you. It's not that you have forgiven them in the way the storybooks describe, with a grand, tearful scene of reconciliation. It's something far more profound. You have simply lost interest in the play. You have walked off the stage. The desire for that final scene has evaporated, because you realize it was never about them. The need for their apology was a chain that kept you tethered to them, forcing you to dance a duet of pain across time. And you have simply decided to stop dancing. This isn't weakness. It is an act of supreme power. You have taken back the narrative and declared that the story is over, not because the villain was vanquished, but because the hero, you simply had better things to do. This is the great turning point, the moment the real liberation begins. And it unfolds in stages, in a series of quiet revelations that reorder your entire world. The third sign is one you might notice in a casual conversation. Someone asks about a difficult period in your life, and you begin to speak of it. But as the words come out, you notice something astonishing. You are not breaking. Your voice is steady. The story is coming from your mouth, but it is no longer tearing through your heart on its way out. For years, to speak of it was to relive it. The telling was a second trauma, a fresh wound carved along the lines of the old one. But now, it is like a sailor recounting a typhoon from the safety of a warm hearth. The storm was real. It was terrifying. It threatened to tear the ship to pieces. But the sailor is not in the storm now. He is on dry land. The memory of the lashing rain does not make him wet. The memory of the howling wind does not chill his bones. He can describe the size of the waves with a kind of detached awe, not with the panic of a man who is drowning. You have learned the crucial difference between recounting and reliving. The past has become a landscape you can visit with a map, not a prison you are trapped inside. You can point to the mountains of sorrow and the valleys of despair, but you are no longer climbing them. You are the cartographer of your own history, not its captive. And from this new vantage point, something even more miraculous begins to happen. You look back at the other characters in your story, especially the ones you cast as the villains, and the lens begins to change. This is the fourth sign. You begin to see the villains of your past not as monstrous, two-dimensional evils, but as complex, deeply wounded people. This is not about excusing their actions. The hurt was real. The damage was done. But your perspective has expanded. You are no longer seeing the play from the single, spotlighted position of your own character on stage. You have, in a sense, floated up into the rafters of the theater, and from there you can see the whole production. You can see the villain's backstory, the clumsy script they were handed by their own past. You can see the fear behind their cruelty, the insecurity that fueled their aggression. You see that they were not a demon sent to destroy you, but another actor, trapped in a painful role they didn't know how to escape. They were a broken instrument, playing a discordant, painful tune, not because they were malicious, but because they were broken. This shift in perception is not for them. They may never know it. It is for you. It releases you from the simplistic, exhausting narrative of good versus evil, victim versus perpetrator. It allows you to see the entire tragic, beautiful, messy machinery of human consciousness, and in that vast understanding, your personal anger begins to feel very, very small. It dissolves into a kind of profound, sorrowful compassion for the whole human condition, theirs and your own. As this new compassion dawns, you begin to notice a practical, tangible change in your life. You have stopped walking into the same walls over and over again. This is the fifth and perhaps most liberating sign. You are no longer repeating the same self-destructive patterns. Think of your life as a river. For so long, your past was a powerful eddy, a whirlpool on the side of the main current. You were trapped in it, spinning in the same circles. The same kind of relationships, the same kind of arguments, the same kind of jobs, the same kind of emotional reactions. The scenery was slightly different each time, a new face, a new office, but the dynamic, the dance, was identical. It was a painful dance, but it was familiar. There is a strange and seductive comfort in familiar pain. You know the steps. You know how it will end. To break the pattern is to leave the eddy and be swept into the powerful, unknown current of the main river. It is terrifying. It requires a surrender of control. But you have done it. One day you found yourself faced with the old familiar choice, the well-worn path back into the whirlpool, and you simply turned. You chose the unknown. You chose the terrifying, exhilarating rush of the forward-moving river. You are no longer making decisions based on avoiding old pain. You are making them based on seeking new life. This is the moment you stop being a creature of reaction and start becoming a being of creation. You are no longer just surviving your past. You are actively building a future that is unwritten. This freedom creates a kind of identity crisis, but a healthy one. If you are not the sum of your traumas, then who are you? This brings us to the sixth and most central sign. Your identity is no longer built upon your suffering. Imagine a seed. To grow, it must be buried in darkness. It must struggle, and eventually it must break its own shell. That shell, the trauma, the past, was necessary for a time. It protected the tender life within. It gave you form. For many years, you identified as the shell. I am the one who was cracked. I am the one who endured the pressure. Society encourages this. It gives awards for the most beautifully broken shells. But you have reached a point where you realize that you were never the shell. You were the life inside it. And to become the tree you were always meant to be, you must let the shell fall away. It has served its purpose. You are shedding the labels. No longer the survivor of X or the person who went through Y. You are simply you, a consciousness, a presence. This can feel terrifyingly naked. That old identity, as painful as it was, gave you a place, a story, a tribe of fellow survivors. To let it go is to stand alone for a moment, undefined. But in that undefined space, anything is possible. You are no longer a noun, a static thing defined by history. You have become a verb, a process of becoming, a continuous unfolding in the present moment. And from this open, undefined space, a new feeling begins to bubble up, one you may not have felt since you were a very small child. It is the seventh sign. You feel genuine, unironic excitement for the future. For years, the future was just a screen onto which you projected the ghosts of the past. You expected betrayal because you had been betrayed. You expected failure because you had failed. The future was not a realm of possibility, but a minefield of repetition. Your body was braced for the next impact, the next disappointment. But now, when you look forward, the screen is blank. It is a canvas. The dread has been replaced by a quiet curiosity. I wonder what will happen next, you think, not with fear, but with a gentle sense of adventure. You are beginning to understand the nature of the dance. For so long, you believed you had to know the steps in advance. Your past was your choreographer, dictating every move. You were dancing with ghosts, always trying to anticipate their familiar, painful steps. To outgrow the past is to realize that life is not a choreographed performance. It is an improvisation. It is hearing the music of this exact moment, this breath, this ray of sunlight, this conversation, and responding to it authentically, without a pre-written script. It is the joy of not knowing what your next step will be, and trusting that you will know what to do when the moment arrives. This does not mean you pretend the past was a beautiful thing. The naivete of youth is gone forever. But it has been replaced by something far more resilient, wisdom. And this is the eighth sign. You have found a way to be grateful for the lessons, even as you acknowledge the horror of the experience that taught them. This is not the cheap, toxic positivity that says everything happens for a reason. Some things happen for no reason at all. They are just brutal and senseless. But you, as a conscious being, have the alchemical power to transform lead into gold. The experience was the lead, heavy, toxic, and burdensome. You would never choose it. You would never wish it upon another. But through the intense fire of your own awareness, through years of introspection and healing, you have managed to extract a few priceless flecks of gold. The gold of compassion, forged in the fires of your own suffering. The gold of resilience, hammered into shape on the anvil of your despair. The gold of wisdom, distilled from the bitter tears of your regret. You can hate the fire that burned you and still cherish the strength of the steel it created. This is not a contradiction. It is the paradox of a mature soul. You have stopped wishing your past were different and have instead started to fully inhabit the person that past, against all odds, has forged you to be. And all of these currents, all of these shifts and revelations flow into one great silent ocean. The ninth and final sign is the one we began with, but now understood in its full depth. It is a sense of profound, unshakable peace in your own mind. The inner narrator, the one who for years provided a constant, chattering commentary of blame, shame, and fear, has finally fallen silent. The courtroom in your head, where you were simultaneously the prosecutor, the defendant, the judge, and the jury, has been adjourned. The case has been dismissed. There is just silence. The kind of silence that is not empty but full. It is the deep, still water of the ocean. For years, you identified with the waves on the surface, the crashing storms of emotion, the chaotic turmoil of events. You believed you were the anger, you were the sadness, you were the fear. You were a wave, tossed and turned by the winds of circumstance. The Great Awakening, the final outgrowing of the past, is the realization that you were never the wave. You are and always have been the entire ocean. The storms still come. The winds of life still blow across the surface. Waves of sadness or anger might still rise, but they are surface phenomena. They are temporary weather patterns. They no longer disturb the vast, silent, eternal peace of the depths. Your true nature is that stillness. The peace you feel is not an achievement. It is a homecoming. You have simply remembered who you are beneath the story, beneath the trauma, beneath the noise. And so, you find yourself here, in this new, quiet landscape. It may feel lonely at times. The world is noisy, and it loves its noisy games. People who knew the old you, the one who was defined by the storm, may not understand the quiet ocean you have become. They may try to provoke the old waves, to get a familiar reaction, to pull you back into the play. And when you don't respond, they may drift away. Let them. This is not a tragic loss. It is the universe clearing space. The solitude you might feel is not the solitude of abandonment, but the solitude of sovereignty. It is the dignified silence of a mountain that does not need the validation of the clouds that pass by. You have stopped fighting. You have stopped running. You have stopped trying to rewrite the past. You have simply let it be. It is a book on a shelf that you no longer need to read. So the next time an echo from that old story arises, a flicker of a memory, a phantom ache of a long-healed wound, do not be alarmed. Do not think you have failed or regressed. See it for what it is, a cloud drifting through the vast, infinite sky of your awareness. Do not grasp it, and do not push it away. Simply observe it. Watch it come, watch it float by, and watch it go. And in that moment of pure observation, ask yourself a very simple question. Who is it that is aware of this memory? The memory is an object. The feeling is an object. Who is the subject? Who is the watcher? In that silent, spacious awareness, that is where you will find your freedom. That is where you will find who you have truly become. Not the story, but the one who is aware of the story. And that one has no past. That one is eternally, beautifully, and completely new in every single moment.